Did you mention that you're good at acting? Wild man armor meet. We're in the same boat now. Laughing at the same boat. Thanks to my luck, I saved the owner. But what are we? Can I get on a boat with the owner? Everything now. You'd better tell the chief. I have absolutely no intention. On the same boat with paint. You speak the truth now. To be honest, if the mayor, not the man of the paint, I'll never care about this school. You took a long time. You overestimated me. His eyes seemed to see his future. Minor director. I've been a trader my whole life. And will continue to be traders. Until the day I die. It's the only weapon a trader has. It's the eyes that look at people. If we look at the wrong person, maybe the company has been in business for a long time. People who live solely on luck. It will one day collapse. But even so, I won't feel warm either. Or regret anything. But if this eye is still sharp, it's not a good thing for paint. And grace the trade union, or SAO. The buttocks are right. But don't use the same phrase as the boat. I really don't like that. I'm curious what happened. The empty barrel is often loud. I don't like words like that. It's easy to understand. You remember before. Hoa Sun saves the world. And get a lot of praise ca chance. A lot of people worship. You've seen through their hearts. But among them, maybe not many people have real feelings for Hoa Sun. Wild man near voice replied, I don't really like that saying either. We are traders together. Today, we are in the same boat. You can also use the boat at any time. But if we have a common goal, the number of boats is not necessary. Come on. If you both say hello, the boat will go faster. Okay, there's nothing bad about SAO. Put your hands behind your back and talk. The old man thought, towards a place like this. It makes me more certain. Anyway, the support of the paint will be. Bring benefits to and lower trade union. Especially working with this kid. Makes me more sure of that. In this boy's mind, the paint has already been developed. It's not confidence. The mountain will surely be resurrected. It's a confidence that's not trivial. The rest of the crew will do their best to support Paint Hoa. Minor director, do you understand the meaning of these words? The Chinese asked clearly that you will confront the South. You nod yes. Your face is a little discolored, and you didn't ask for anything. And I don't want anything. Don't you tell me you want a different price. That's a little unethical. He smiled. I didn't expect a price. I just hope the chief. I know for my heart. My ass laughed. Well, it's hard at that level. They both laughed like they couldn't stop talking. Who knows deep down, they're a little displeased. How could he be so observant? That's a tricky kid. He ate his blood and tried to fool the world. On the outside, it looks so happy. It takes a while. They just stopped living fake lives. Ask the chief. The leader is smart. At this age, you are like a leader, maybe looking all over the world. I can't find the second one. An ass crush harsh. It's not that at this age, there's no AI like us. It's about going around the world. There is no one like us. The dead come back to life. Besides me, there can be other people. But the leader needs a little less confidence. It is better to go. The world is a very scary place. It's not just covered in evil, but also countless people fighting each other. Those who are for their own good. That there are unsightly dirty acts. The moment the chief revealed himself, it will be the time when you are not equal to the chief. You show too much interest in the leader. Middle buttocks laughing softly. You judge me too highly. I'm just a kid. Intriguing keen eyes look at you. He bowed slightly to greet you. Please allow me to go first. Follow his footsteps. Wait a minute. I'd like to ask you something, if it's convenient. I don't know what that is. After a while, the trash came down the mountain. Back to the government. He walked somewhat enlisted. Then stop, looking up at Chung but still standing on the rocky hill. You think stomach, the monster boy can't see. He's thinking about something. Outside is a child, but deep down, it's definitely not like that. Flowers painted. I'd rather call this place Long Dynasty Cho. The teacher walked in the yard thinking. More than anyone, I knew before that the mountain is where dragons live. Capture this. Then N brings down the crew. It could be the first company in the world. The wild son came out to his father. How is your father talking? The Lord's Prayer answered, my son. Looks like you've changed your mind too. You keep looking up at your buttocks. There will be a lot of work waiting for you. Let's go. He didn't make it clear. Tell your son to prepare mentally. What party to offer? After discussing the matter with the principal, Hoa's son is finished, as sprinkled on the trot. He's moving back to Taehan. Up on a nearby hill looking buttocks looking and thinking. It's not that Ginger gets older and hotter. Talking to you looks, or other painted elders. It's just a negotiation. You look at the people moving away. It's right to think again. A person who lives in the marketplace. It cannot be compared to the Magi. Even though I thought you were taking a deep breath. You said, the biggest obstacle of paint on the budget issue has been solved. This moment, it's not the time to hate the South anymore. He looked at the blue sky and said, if a man forgets his own origins, and this mountain looks at this mountain, the mountain is also in condition. They have completely lost their origin. Now it's time to focus and practice martial arts. My ass thinks about the next job. About a while later, the mountain has completely changed. In the positive direction. The power of the Yin League is admirable. Quickly stabilize the trading places of the Frosted Hoa. Before that, there was no hope of doing business. Even mobilized the entire students in Hoa Sun. In just a few days, all trading activities quickly come into place. Goods begin to be imported and sold out. Extremely fast. Thanks to that, the owners are always smiling. ROI Rosie, the smile never seemed to die on his face. The mountain finally stabilized after a few decades. And the young flower paint kept drifting peacefully like that. There are people who always want to break. At 5 a.m. every day, the disciples went out and practiced the middle butt. Say it one last time. 1 according to the count. People with big rocks on their backs start pushing. 2. The people's screams of pain kept ringing out. My ass will talk for the last time. The brothers are all discontented. It was the last time I would die. You ask where everyone died. Everyone is angry, but they dare not do anything. The place you sit suddenly collapsed. So you're sitting on the rock on the back of the Yogin. He's still trying to push every beat. The master smiled happily. You count 2 again, Yo 1, step by step. Lifting and screaming. Chung Cotton sees the resilience. The master's was very surprised. He smiled happily. I think it's magical. You remember the words of the Middle East before. Every day at dawn. Let's exercise together. 4 brothers and brothers. Then you think. I started training early in the morning for the first time. I was worried a lot. I had my doubts whether this simple physical training, is it really effective? Because of the painting, flower swordsmanship, it's basically based on the agility of the sword, combined with the sword. I think that simple training methods to enhance the power, it will hinder expansion. Hoa Sun's new sword techniques. But it's a surprise. He swung the American wooden sword. As soon as the body is trained, the sword's lines became twice as fast and sharp. The elder brother's body also became stronger. A marked change. That make the training session more fun every day. Before, everyone looks forward to lunch to rest. But now, as time goes by, they work hard. A disciple shouted while racing up the mountain. Watch the sunrise before breakfast and go home. Today, we are first class. Chung Cotton realizes we're different. At least that's it. On top of the hill, the monks began to show off their solid gods. They show off their muscles, big belly muscles, big smile cacacaca. And I'm proud to say that I've done my training. The disciple next to me replied, I can even lift the rock, brother. My brother looks helpless. I wonder. It feels like paint, turned into a den of thugs. This place is painted or hooligan flower, I don't know. Thought then he said, don't move in. You have to eat to get ready for morning practice. The brothers answered, yes, brother. He turned to Zogel wondering. But my ass doesn't look like shit today. Ro said yes. I have not seen him practice lately. It's also true, since we've assigned ourselves training. I didn't see him during training. It's not sleeping late or anything. He was the one who got up early. Where did he go after all? Chung Cotton found strange wonder. Yo One made a speech. Maybe we'll go back to the SAO trade group later. When the paint is stable. Then he has to go back and forth. Between Hoa Sun and N Lower Trade Union. That? Probably the busiest person in this painting. It's the middle ass. Brother also agreed to say yes. Change to another topic, Yo Gold asked, but the 4 of you. Can you feel the words? That we're getting stronger. Chung Cotton said not really. To feel the power is only relative. I want to know how strong I am. It needs to be accurate. It's hard to feel. That's how the brothers grew up together. Although SAO, after Chun Butt appeared, then we're twice as strong. Not SAO. Gun asked double SAO. Chien said you felt that. You don't know anyway. Double is also a bit abstract, but you can be sure of one thing. I have enough confidence to fight my own way. 3 people have been there before. Yogen Shen is still missing. Brother made a face that didn't understand. I told you the party was coming. You hold the rock in your hand, and you're going to be stronger. It must be more than. Understand what the younger brother meant, the smiling boy. And say that when the middle butt boy comes back, I'll tell him to increase his training frequency. Yes, the 4 brothers replied. The whole day went by normally, while the other disciples were still asleep. My ass woke up again. You get up. Take a long breath and change your clothes. Even though he was sleepy, he managed to get up the mountain early. Just walked peacefully. He thinks even if it's to get stronger. Avoid those kids. Every morning to practice yourself like that. It is not a good way to teach them. What I should do. Think of a way to narrow the imbalance between the head and the body. This method is simple and easy to learn. But the fused sword. Now my sword and body have become human. Search merge perfectly. So, I can repeat Wei Chang's form exactly the same way. But we haven't been able to do that correctly. As in the past, it's clumsily imitated. And then it didn't work out as expected. Want to be good is to practice very hard and consistently, to be able to merge with the sword as soon as possible. The problem is in front of them. I can't get my sword out. You can practice around. If you know how to practice, the mountain will reverse the situation. He took a few steps to the top of the hill. He clicked his tongue and said he'd rather die than get sick. So lately, I've been on top of the wind, swinging a few swords and coming back down. Everything is like rice. Suddenly, you see something. In the distance, there's that AI swinging a sword. He wondered in his heart. Other than me, there is someone here. If you look closely, it could be a girl. She kept swinging her sword. It's very gentle, but also extremely powerful, definitely. Under the moon, her silhouette was visible. It's really beautiful. Middle ass was hiding nearby. He suddenly thought, oh ho. It's the moon. Soft but strong. Brilliant but elegant. The sword is still very strong. That sword is just like Mexico. I saw Hoa Sun's sword the day before, in the swordsmanship of the woman training below. I thought, other than me, everyone has forgotten. The ancient swordsmanship of painted flowers. It feels like you'll never see it again. And now it's happening right in front of you. It's not that the AI has learned any swordsmanship. It's what that sword means. It's like thinking you just sighed. The girl suddenly felt her turn to the sound. Quickly rushed to the middle of the butt. She pointed her sword straight at me. The sword was close to the boy's neck. But China Cotton here is very calmly sitting there. Glaring girl. You feel like you're about to die. It was discovered by a child. The sword is dead tomorrow. The woman asked who you were. I never seem to have met you. The old sword girl asked who your ass was. I never seem to have met you. You sit there thinking. That's the question we want to ask. Who are you after all? He also looks like a disciple of Hoa-san. He looked at her clothes and thought. Then look at her face again. Remark in the heart. Even if this woman. It must have made the man stand up too. I've met a lot of strong opponents, but hardly encountered any female. Anyone with such a beautiful face. Even though I am still a child, I was also impressed by the beauty of this woman. As beautiful as the fairies. Master Chung but did not answer and glanced around. She put her sword close to her neck and told her to confess her identity. Some of the skin on your neck is torn. The blood has dripped. The boy replied that I was a disciple of Hua Sect. The new girl picked up the sword far away. Middle ass pointing hands onto chest, the badge of the sect to prove. She asked me if I'd ever met you. He is the third-generation disciple. Third-generation students were banned. Don't go outside after the sun goes down. But she was wondering. Middle ass answer. But I have permission from the head teacher. She didn't understand why you had to ask her. She asked, let a disciple be right. You keep answering. She said she was suspicious. You don't seem to believe me. Maybe a third-generation student dare to take the words of the chief raw. SAO jacket. With the lady here, can you put the sword down? It hurts me to die. The boy calmly said and gently took. Hand push the blade out. After the explanation, she accepted and drew her sword. Silence for a moment. He pulled his sword into the bar. Dare to watch others practice martial arts. That's not allowed. The boy stood up and explained. This is also where we practice regularly. Otherwise, she shows up suddenly and blames me. You know how to do this. The girl said again. As soon as you find out, leave immediately. You answer. You are seeing it for the first time. You have to watch the SAO. It's not that. Listen, you don't say anything else. When you look at her face, you wonder why. Are you angry? The girl who only bit her teeth looked annoyed. She turned her face in the other direction. My ass is laughing. I can't think of anything to say. The sword is sharp. But looks like this woman isn't very sharp either. This is probably not my response. It's still young. Go back and ask what your name is. Then she asked if you have a sign. My name is Middle Ass, you said. A third-generation disciple has no title, but the name Middle Butt. He found it hard to understand. If so, you get the title. Then the title is Choose Ass. You suddenly understood and said. Right, my ass is in my head. That girl must be stupid. She's musing about something. Then I turned to look at you. He said, I am the second-generation disciple of Jesus. If you are a third-generation disciple, then I am your aunt. Trung Cotton is bewildered to think that she still ranks behind. Then it's also true that according to the legend of the white soldiers, it is not an exaggeration to say that the disciples of the previous life is the next generation disciple. But since joining Hoa Sun, I haven't heard anyone mention this. I thought, this order of division has been ignored by Hoa Sun for a long time. She asked her ass back to me. Jesus says the greeting part. My ass is angry. These three little things are too much. 2 words is also a word. He gritted his teeth and grinned. Yes, it is a pleasure for your disciple. The sun is rising, and my ass is screaming in my head. Let's go. The sun is about to rise. Don't waste other people's training time. You start walking and talking. I will go to the chief to confirm your words. If you say coat, it's best to be mentally prepared. Go a long way. She looked back at him for the last time. And he's a strange child. Middle ass asked who. We are alone in the forest. You stood there dumbfounded. Then you also walked back. Sighing said, I have to find another place to train. Early morning at the restaurant. The disciples were not as usual. All the anorexics just wiggle food with their wands. Not as happy as the days before. Everyone sighed and looked depressed. Watch your ass, and what do you think? It's the first time the atmosphere has been this bleak. After I returned from the White House, a few months ago, the whole dining room is showing a stuffy atmosphere. Bored. You turned to Chun and everyone said something. Brother replied, the four of you are back. Sister, Sao, what's the matter with you when you come back? He said, don't call me for shouts. 4 sounds like a big deal. Let me ask you why or over there. The Chinese said, this also needs to be carefully considered. Even though there have been 4 of them in the past. He left Hoa Sun for retreat. Because in Hoa Sun, there is not a large training place. To be able to focus on the best practice. Listen and ask again. But why are they looking so deeply at the carpet? It is not because of the return of the 4 shoes that everyone is like this. Why are they so strict? Brother said loudly, the 4 Thu is not a person who meets AI, also scolded. So it's because the cotton jars asked. Cotton Pot, feeling helpless, muttered sure to faint. The Yogin is now speaking out because of the Hoa. The little brother asked the Hoa Cardboard Association, the end of the season. He then explained that Ra was. It is the festival of Hoa Sun and Tan Nam. Once every 2 years, Nam and Hoa Sun will gather to compare and contrast the strengths of the 2 sides. The Chinese are now familiar with it. I think you've heard it somewhere. Chun Cotton continued, at first, I heard that, held once every 5 years to engage. The fraternal sentiment of the factions then gradually changed. In the name of communication between students of the 2nd and 3rd generations, that event is becoming more and more transformative. That's why I became Ra. But if it's between the 2 sides, generally speaking, yes, we only make sandbags for them. 2 years ago, I was beaten up, and my hands and feet are still wet. A disciple speaks up. And then others said, maybe this time again. After the defeat, they are still being tortured to death. Live again. I think it's still scary so far. Just like that, the whole dining room is noisy. Everyone tells of their suffering. He looked at everyone for a moment and then said, that's because the elders are directly involved. It will be big, so that the students of the 2nd and 3rd generations can compete with each other. And only with me was beaten. Brother replied, that's right. So this time I'm told I won't submit. So the 4 of them came back. In other words, this is a very important time for Hoa Sun. And then Chen said, oh, my God. He smiled horribly and said, what's wrong with you? You said you thought. There was no such ceremony before. Now based on the decline of the paint that shows Ra. We want to humiliate our son. Dare to humiliate our paint Sao. He broke his wands in anger. No matter how bad the paint is, I decided not to give anyone who thinks of insulting this place. Think about it, you keep asking. That means this time, the four worlds return to prepare for this test. Party paint. I have to prepare carefully for this test. So the new customs have to go to retreat. But no matter how good the martial arts are, I'm not sure will bring glory to our flower. Is that what you mean? So we have to win it ourselves. You sit up and call out. Are you ready to fight with determination? We have to make them lose. They have to fight because they can't raise their heads. In every way that, to be able to defeat the southern disciples. Honor our Hoa son. You're willing to sacrifice. Right. Don't worry, you're here. Tone male. We must make them kneel at the foot of the mountain. The disciples all looked at the boy. Silence and listened to his every bold statement. In front of the door, the head knock on the door. Second-generation students, please allow me to see the master. Invitation medal. Then ask the finished story. And by now, he must have come to Hoa too. Yes, M replied. He asked again, but the chief. After half a year, the festival will open. But this time, it's much faster than that. The head gently replied, the South has sent a letter. Maybe they want to do it a little earlier this time. I can't wait for the day to leave. It is hard, he sighed. I said later. Chief Hoa's son is growing stronger. It's going really well. At least I don't have to worry about food every day. That's a significant change. Compared to a few months ago, you look like you said yes. I'm talking again. But it is not the core of our sect. We are trying to find out and practice the moves. New, but the results are not very good yet. No matter how hard you train, then the power is still not enough to fight against the southern sect. But if the results of this Hoa sect chapter, same as before, then all the hope that Hoa San has. With the disciples, fear that this defeat will negatively affect the morale of the Hoa San disciples. Brother looked up. Don't we know that? But can we for that reason? But avoid the Hoa sect branch, star. You think a sect leader, we are not worried about losing 7. We know, this time, it is also difficult to achieve the desired results. The distance the South has surpassed us. Too far to reach. There is no shame in losing a battle. Despite trying my best, if you lose, there is no other way. Just keep trying. But only because our side is still weak. But rely on that reason to avoid is absolutely not allowed. It is better for Mr. Dung to face it than to be a coward and avoid it. UM just realized say yes. Disciples cannot think that deeply. Dear head of department. Chief, reminding the kids to come home must be tiring. Prepare food and accommodation. Yes, sir. If not, I will go prepare. He replied and then left. The door slowly closed. In the room, only the head of the sect remained. He walked slowly to the window and opened it. He looked at the apricot trees outside. Then thought it felt like a sharp thorn was stabbing my heart. Every breath feels like pain. Someday, the thorn is getting deeper and deeper, and it takes my breath away. Old man sighed heavily. Mumble in southern accent. At the dorm inside Chung Myung's room, the monk standing before him asked, "We can win over South Asia. You answer now is probably not possible. Even though Gun said that, we are stronger now, aren't we?" "Must be stronger than," Chung Myung admitted. He held up two fingers and estimated about this much. Yogan and Chun Hein silently observed. Junior brother laughed and said, "Ha ha ha, just kidding. How is this possible?" The two brothers laughed loudly and said, "Of course." He held out his hand to measure a smaller area than before and said, "It seems like around this time." Yo-Won shouted loudly, "Is there anything different?" He said vehemently, "No matter what time passed, everyone has been practicing like crazy. But you said it only got that much stronger." "Brother, feel my body is full of energy," this Chinese monk said disdainfully. "Only a few months, but already feel so strong. If the acorn grows 3 times larger, is it compared to a tree?" The two people who heard that could only grit their teeth in annoyance. Trung Bang looked at them and thought, the growth of a Buddha disciple is terrifying. Never seen a child grow at this rate. However, compared to the disciples of Hoa Sun in the past, then still far behind, and compared to the south. If the southern sect can maintain such power, then no one among the disciples of the 3rd generation can win. Southern tones. Lucky Ra. Only a few disciples of the Ba generation can temporarily cope. If you ask AI can be trusted now, then most likely it is him. Cotton has also improved a lot. Hope to do that. 2 people, if I compare the whole thing, I'm so bored, I don't even want to think about it anymore. Yogan asked how to win. Of course, it has to be stronger, Chung Myung said. Senior brother Trong said again, from now until the opening of the Hua Sect branch, the longest is 15 days. How many months? Even practice does not guarantee victory. But now only half a month left. But you said you can win SAO. Chung Myung smiled and said that, so I asked, do you dare to die? Everyone is whispering about changing the training method of SAO. But why do you keep calling people in the middle of the night? If I change, won't I be tired from practicing yesterday? However, the results are more feasible, so it's probably okay. A voice echoed out, is everyone here? China brazenly walked out onto the training ground. There are many people waiting for Chun Bang to say yes. I have gathered everyone as you told me. What will this workout be? Chu Mong put the wooden sword on the floor in the other hand. Draw out a sharp sword. Everyone is a bit confused because we should not be using real swords when practicing. That is not a real sword or SAO. Yes, it is real. But what is he planning to do? Zhang Mong said seriously, a change of method. Just practice. Nothing big or great. He put his sword on his shoulder. The voice's eyes filled with terrifying darkness. You just have to die and come back to life once. What? Is he going crazy again? It looks like it's coming. Don't look him in the eye. People are about to get scared. This guy wants more. Are you dead? I don't even look at the mail. You can play dirty with us. The Kier brothers are afraid to gather up like a hedgehog. Middle buttocks a little softer, but the brothers can win it. Or you'll have to beat me. It will make sure you can win. Those fucking Indians. Yo-Won, just step up and talk. If you can really win, I will follow your plan.